Peace, beautiful souls. It's Troi Lauren of Mama Tree Doula. I'm excited to welcome a storyteller, writer, herbalist, offers classes on herbal medicine. She teaches at herb conferences, festivals, medical school, and is most joyous outside with the plants that resonates with me. Let's give it up for Miss Robin Rose Bennett.
Thank you,
Welcome, Robin.
Troy.
How are you feeling today?
I'm great today. Thank you, and happy to be here with you and with those who are joining us.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. All right. So, we want to know a little bit more about herbalism and what it looks like in pregnancy and throughout all four trimesters, how it can lend itself to supporting the health and wellness of the female body. So, tell me a little bit how you got into herbal medicine and how you found it supported the female body in the perinatal experience.
Okay. Well, I got into herbal medicine years and years ago, the way many people find their path. I was looking to answers to my own challenges, looking for answers to my own health problems that I was unable to find in conventional medicine. And, I began to learn from that point forward. Now, years later, if we fast forward, I had the thrilling discovery that my great grandmother, Esther, had
Mhm.
been a renowned herbalist. I had no idea. I thought that my herbal leanings were kind of my spiritual ancestry and had nothing to do with my physical ancestry. So that was a beautiful, coming together for me. But I can't say enough about how wonderful herbal medicine is and how plants are healing beings. They are here. That is their purpose, is to be of loving support to us. And it just opened, I went looking for answers to health problems. And what I found was kinship. I found connectedness. I found, so for any woman who is contemplating becoming pregnant or who has, recently given birth, it's just the most supportive thing to open the door to, as I will elaborate on as we continue our discussion.
I love that. That's beautiful. That connection between your maternal ancestry and your spiritual ancestry, just kind of like connecting the two. That's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's talk about how does herbalism support fertility, essentially, or just some of. Let's go back. Here we go. How can herbal remedies stand alone in supporting mental health? And how can they complement traditional medical care during pregnancy and the postpartum phase?
Okay. Well, first of all, everything is relationship, so nothing stands alone.
Okay.
Nothing stands alone. Everything is what we bring to it and what it then brings back to us. Um, but one of the things you want to think about, Troy, and all of you joining us through the magic of the Zoom portal, is that the more simple and focused we are with what we put into our bodies, the more we each have the ability to feel what is good for us, what is not good for us. And an overarching thing to help you understand is that, and when what I just said, I'm talking as simply as putting one herb in your teacup rather than 8 herbs. Right. So
Mm.
I work in what's called the wise woman tradition, or I like to say the wise wild woman tradition. And one of the things is that we acknowledge that each plant is so complex, like a human being, right, that we don't need to necessarily put so many things in.
Mm.
And what the most important thing, and I'm sure that you know this in your own work supporting women, is that sense of sovereignty, right? That sense of, I am the ultimate authority in what's going on in my body. Now, to put this in the most generous way possible, that's not exactly what the medical system encourages in us, right?
Mhm.
They encourage tendency, they encourage fear. I'm not
Mhm.
saying bad. I'm just saying this is a system that does not acknowledge the naturalness of birthing, right? It makes it a medical situation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we have been giving birth forever, right? So think about this. The plants are our elders. They evolved on planet Earth before we did. And
Mm-hmm.
our bodies resonate with plant medicine. Our bodies can receive, like, for example, let's say a woman is looking to nourish her iron levels and
Mm-hmm.
her calcium levels, right, to support her nervous system physiologically and emotionally, mentally, you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. She or they can take, this supplement, that supplement, and add up a bunch of expensive things from the health food store. But they're not going to work as well as, for example, taking an herb in a tea form, a water-based medicine, because we are mostly water, like Mama Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
That and taking something internally like nettle infusion, stinging nettles, Urtica dioica, stinging nettles. It's a chlorophyll rich, iron rich, nourishing plant that strengthens spiritually, physically, mentally. It's a plant that helps you own your body as sacred space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Respect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, a lot of our mental anxieties really come from nutritional lacks, like where we're not getting everything we need. So when you're nourishing yourself with the help of herbal infusions, which is when we take a plant, dried, cover it with boiling water, and let it steep for a long time, right? So we can have simple tea where it's 5 minutes on the teaspoon, but really for your medicine, you want to use more plant material and let it steep for some hours to get the most from the. Yeah. And there's many ways to do things. There's not one right way. So simply what I'll share is what I know, what
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced, what I've seen. And then, we put it out there. People do
Ooh.
what they do. Right. But so something like a nettle infusion strengthens the adrenals, strengthens the kidneys. You may know this. The kidneys work at 150% when we're pregnant. So they need extra nourishment. Um, Another great herb for beautiful herb, and the only caution around this herb would be if somebody had celiac, right? Would be an herb like oat straw, avena, sativa. Beautiful, nourishing, tasty, soothing, filled with B vitamins for the nervous system, pain relieving. And then the side effects are it's beautifying. It helps our skin and our hair and our nails. And so, okay, that's great. And that also brings me back, Troy, to something I wanted to say in answer to the very first things you were asking, which is one of the biggest things to think about with the difference between conventional medicine and this is actually traditional medicine. I just want
Mm-hmm.
you to take that right. This is traditional. This is tried and true over time. And conventional medicine is very young compared to this, compared to
Mm-hmm.
what all of our wise women and foremothers and grandmothers did. Um, is we're not incurring side effects, or when we do, the side effects are beautifying or strengthening, or I'm taking this for my sinuses and it's helping my skin, whatever, like things like that. So oat straw is a beautiful herb for you to know, both to drink and also to make a strong infusion, pour it through a strainer into your bath and bathe in. It's fantastic for releasing anxiety, and absolutely benign, right?
Yeah, I love that. I was because I guess it makes sense for us to be able to consume our plant medicine, but for it to be a topical kind of absorption into the body, since it is more closely identical to the makeup of humanity than anything else is out there. Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. What are some other herbs that you would suggest that we kind of bathe in or soak in, or just some different ways to use herbs, honestly? And what does that look like throughout? all 4 trimesters. I know there's some herbs that are safe in pregnancy that aren't necessarily safe, in the postpartum or vice versa.
Well, okay. And, we always want to consider the
Hmm.
source when we're reading about safety in herbs
And right, because you just
or
now said
non-safe.
there aren't really a lot of ramifications from using plant medicine. They just kind of want,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, and especially working with, what I like to do is I like to work with the most gentle, potent plants, right? Because
Mhm.
people think we need the powerful plants to have an effect, but my experience is quite the opposite. Is we want to work with gentle plants that have a powerful effect in the body. And that is the safest way to use herbal medicine is to use it in as close to the form that as nature makes it as we can. So for example, I don't have anything against herbal products, right? But if you want to know the safety, know what you're taking exactly, it's like eating food from your garden, right? If you have a collard greens from, which I have beautiful collards in my garden right now. So like if you have your collards from your garden, you know what they are. So
Hmm.
if am using nettles, either that I bought in the store is fine, or that I grew in my garden. Well, it grows itself in that case. Actually, it's wild. I like to use the wild things because they help us to liberate ourselves from within. And
Hmm.
also, think about it, the weeds are the hardiest of all the plants. So I
Hmm.
work a lot with the plants that are considered weeds like nettles, like wild red raspberry. Raspberry is probably the most famous pregnancy herb of all. And it's a uterine tonic. And what that means, or a way to think about that, I mean, a tonic is an herb that will help tone the functioning of whatever we're taking it for. So in this case of the womb, it's going to strengthen the womb.
Hmm.
And I kind of think of it like getting ready for the Olympic event of the birth, right? We have little raspberry, little raspberry, and typically it will help the birth go better, right? It gets the womb ready to contract and so forth. So raspberry is another great plant. It tastes a little bit like black tea. It's very astringent, which some people love, some people don't love. So you can fiddle with, the amounts you put in to make it good for you. Um, I suggest to you that you make your medicines taste good because then you'll drink them,
Yeah.
right? Then you'll drink them. In my cup right now, by the way, is pine needle tea.
Okay.
Pine needle tea because we're recording this, the effects of the wildfires in Canada are still with us here where I live in New Jersey. I think are you in New Jersey as well?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm drinking pine needle tea because it nourishes my lungs. So,
Mm.
but let's say if a woman is postpartum or in pregnancy or before, if she's anxious, this is a great tea. The indigenous people of our region, the Lenape and the Mohawk people, call this the tree of peace.
Mm.
And when I think about the spiritual medicine matches the physical medicine. So here's this old tree, really old on the planet, hundreds of millions of years old, the pines, and it helps us breathe.
Mm.
And when we're at peace, we tend to breathe more readily. And when we're stressed, one of the first things that happens, right, is we stop breathing fully.
Mhm.
So the herbs they make sense in that way. They're the spirit and physical medicine, or what I like to think of as the magic in the physical medicine. They work like mirrors of one another. Um, I wondered if for the people here, so the most important thing are the nourishing plants, right? The ones that are going to help our bodies to be strong, right? Before, during, and after giving birth, right, to a new being on the planet. And also the ones that are going to be soothing. So another example could be a simple cup of lavender tea,
Mm.
dried lavender flowers, This one, because it's so aromatic, you use just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. Or I mix it together with a little bit in the oat straw for the bath,
Mm.
or to it's wonderful. Everyone who takes an oat lavender bath says, "Why haven't I done this before? And why don't I do it more often?" It's just delicious. Um, and then, like, I know you asked me when before we got on about cautions about herbs. So you do want to know what you're taking. So, for example, I love sage,
Mm-hmm.
garden sage, but I'm not going to give it to a pregnant woman or a lactating woman, a woman who's nursing, or a person who's nursing, because it dries milk. It dries up breast milk. So now, does that mean that if you have a little bit of food that has a little bit of garden sage in it, regular sage, that it's going to dry your milk? No. No, but I mean, if you're consuming quantities because you read in a book like mine, oh, this is helpful for a sore throat and I have a sore throat. No, at that point, you want to make another choice because that herb dries breast milk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've shared it with women who wanted to start drying up their breast milk, right? Because they wanted to start weaning their baby or their child. So, so it's great to know on that score. And then I just wanted to um, say, don't underestimate, and I know you don't because you got so excited about the baths, don't underestimate the effects of external topical applications. Like, even it could be rubbing belly and breasts with a beautiful herbal oil, right? Because everything's being stretched, or after the birth too. So I prefer not to use essential oils too much. I find them very, well, first of all, they're expensive. Second of all, they're actually hard on the planet because it takes so many plants to make a wee little, so many flowers to make a wee little bottle. So what I teach is people how to make or buy, infused oils, which really is the herb. Like, let's say maybe it was a herb. This is a great hair herb, everybody. An herb like rosemary,
Mm-hmm.
right? Chop up the fresh herb. It can't be wet. Don't wash it first. It can't be wet. Chop up the fresh herb, put it in your jar, cover that with olive oil,
Mm-hmm.
and poke it to make sure it's all covered, right? And then cap it and label it so you remember what it is, and let it sit for about a month or so before you pour off the oil and squeeze your herbs. You get a beautiful hair oil. So something like that that could be beautiful on belly or breasts is dandelion flower oil. Is gorgeous and moves lymph in the breasts. It
Mm-hmm.
also helps for anywhere there's emotional pain trapped in the body. Plants are amazing. Plants are amazing. They blow my mind on a regular basis, and I've been doing this right in this life for 35 years. Who knows how long at other times, but I love dandelion flower oil. You might like calendula, more commonly called marigold. Marigold oil is beautiful. So these are some ideas. So oils on the body, baths, and listen, maybe late in pregnancy, somebody doesn't feel comfortable to get into a whole body bath. I don't know, maybe they would, or maybe they don't like their bathtub. A foot bath is another great way to take an herbal bath.
Mm-hmm.
It really, like, it does more than you might think it does.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine it absorbs the medicine and it
Yep.
goes directly look into the bloodstream, maybe not, but it goes into the body beautifully too. So postpartum, I know I offer beautiful herbal foot soaks and
Great.
massaging. How do you feel
Wonderful.
about womb steams and the herbs to support womb health, like literally topically
Yeah,
that
I love rose for that in particular. Rose
interesting?
is a beautiful plant for that kind of, for a yoni steam. I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love rose oil as well. Rose in any form is just a beautiful, and it's really helps the liver, because your liver, all your organs of elimination are working extra hard when you're pregnant, right? So you want to be kind to your liver and your kidneys and your skin and your lungs, right? All these. But yeah, so no, I like those as called for, or as a woman is drawn. So listen, I wondered if you might like a recipe or two for a couple of specific things.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay, so I'm going to look up things I already wrote before that I contributed to a doula book. To
Would you
discuss. I have.
can you share the book with us?
Yes, yes. This is
Yes.
the Doula's Guide to Empowering Your Birth by Lindsay Bliss. It's a
Awesome.
beautiful, beautiful. She's a wonderful resource and teacher of many doulas like yourself. Yeah. And she's got, I don't know how many kids. I lost count of how many kids she has. So, for example, for breastfeeding, fennel seed tea works well for many women, is tasty, and relieves gas. Another is bitter tasting hops in a
Mm,
tea or tincture, which is when the herb is concentrated into alcohol. This is a traditional remedy to bring down a plentiful supply of breast milk. I know in Ireland, they favor doing it via Guinness.
I was about to say, I just learned in Morocco that they use the beers. They're like, they use the beers.
Yes,
They
I
warm it up,
like that.
they warm it up and they put an egg yolk in there or something like that. And it sounded gross to
Yeah,
me, but I was like, okay, that's great.
yeah. I would try it without the egg yolk personally, but hey, and regular use during pregnancy of red raspberry and nettle leaf, the ones I mentioned before, help ensure plentiful breast milk later, as well as helping very specifically with a healthy delivery,
Mm,
right? So fennel tea, hops tea, these are the quote unquote galactagogues, the herbs that help the breast produce milk, whereas an herb like sage is one to help dry the milk
mm,
when need be, like maybe there's been a miscarriage,
yeah.
right? And that can be such a painful, physically as well as emotionally, like, reminder as one is healing, right? And
Hmm.
so a gentle herb that can help dry the milk, right? This is such a blessing. Like there's such blessings. And I could talk to you all day about the chemistry of the herbs and this and that, but what I really am so moved by is how they heal through love.
Mm,
That's really the essence is herbs heal through, they do have specific gifts and properties, like you have your gifts, you
mhm,
listening, you have your gifts. If you don't know what they are, find them because you have them. And and the herbs have theirs, they have things they're specially good at doing. But I also have seen over the years that if you have a particular relationship with a plant you really love, that plant will do virtually anything for you. It's remarkable because they don't read the books. They don't know, what they're supposed to do and not do. But
mhm,
I kept having a feeling to give this one particular bit of information on healing the perineum
mhm,
because, perineum tears are one thing that have always happened in on occasion, right, in delivery. It's always a possibility, is what I mean to say. But then there's the other part where in conventional medicine that they cut as a matter of course. Yes? Correct me if
yeah,
anything I isn't
you're
matching
right.
your experience.
You're absolutely correct. Yep.
Right? And so that is actually harder for our bodies to heal than a natural tear.
Hmm.
But whether a tear has happened or a cut has happened, this is a tried and true recipe for healing the perineum. Um, the lady's mantle, which is
Okay.
one I believe that my great grandmother Esther favored, lady's mantle, which is also called in the botanical name is Alchemia vulgaris, the common alchemist, right?
Mm,
Right? Um, 25 to 30 drops in water or tea, right? As a tea or tincture in water, it's helpful from the inside out, right? And it also helps it helps any after any major hormonal shift, it helps bring our bodies back into their dance, their
mhm.
rhythm, their but the sitz bath was what I was getting at for the I didn't realize I had all this other information. Okay, which I'm going to share too, but the sitz bath was what I really feel like somebody needs who's gonna,
Mhm.
or maybe just you to share with your clients, right?
Yeah.
So I do a half a cup each. These are dried herbs, remember, a half cup each of any of the following herbs: comfrey
Mm,
leaf, calendula blossoms, which I also mentioned, um, witch hazel leaves, full bark, yarrow flowers, and or plantain leaves. So I'm not saying you need all of these. You could do one of them, you could do two or three of them. You don't need all of them. So I'm saying options so you can, what do I have access to, right? If you don't, and always this is true. If you are looking for something and you can't find it, there will be something that you can use in its place. The herbal world is as diverse as we are and
Mhm.
has so options. And then, so what I do, right, remember about a half a cup of the herbs, right? And so maybe you end up with 2 cups total, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's one or 4 herbs, place those in a half-gallon jar and pour boiling water over them. And
Mhm.
then when that cools down, right, you strain the herbs and sit in it. And if you sit just over the hip bones to so the liquid, you can add water if you need to make it fit over, fill that much. That just helps it concentrate in the area you want it to concentrate. It's not absolutely essential that it's up that high. Mostly you want to get it on the perineum.
Mhm.
It's
Mm.
remarkable feeling. Also, you could take exactly what I just described and use that, say, particularly with either the witch hazel or the yarrow or plantain, and then you have a hemorrhoid remedy,
Mm. Mm.
right? Here's a great herbalist tip for you and you. When you can, whenever you can, take your herbs from the inside out and the outside in.
Mm. I wanted you to read the excerpt from your book just to close this out. Let us know how we can connect with you, tap into the offerings that you have for the world.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see. I do, classes and rituals. The best way to stay and walks outside, all kinds of things. But the best way to stay connected to me is to go to my website, robinrosebennett.com, and sign up for my newsletter. That way you'll get not only schedule updates, but also you'll get rituals and recipes and thoughtful pieces, thought-provoking pieces, I hope, and like that. And then I also have several books. You know what? Let me just reach right over and show you. This is The Gift of Healing Herbs,
Mhm.
right? It's home, but don't let that scare you because the recipes are all on the simple side. Again, user friendly. And then do you mind? I'm going to just grab the other book too, because I'd love you to see its beautiful, beautiful cover. And here's my first book, Healing Magic, A Green
Mm.
Witch's Guidebook to Conscious Living.
Yes, I love that.
Yes. And this is really about, the other book is lots of recipes and it goes by body systems. And then this book is a lot of practices about how to reconnect with yourself, mystery, your body, the
Mm.
earth. It's how to bring magic into every moment, really. And then the newest book, I'm very excited, is A Green Witch's Pocketbook of Wisdom, and it's a 4x6, like big little life tips, I call it. It's really the practices that I have engaged in and will continue to engage in as long as I live, because these are the kind of guiding guiding messages that help me to stay centered, to come from
Mhm.
my authenticity. And
Mhm.
I want this for everyone because it's what makes life juicy and joyful, even amid, and especially important in the time that we're in, which is really rich in evolutionary chaos, right? So it's really easy to get pulled into so many not great places. So we need to
Mhm.
do our work to
Mhm.
um, stay centered and in our hearts. And again, to share our gifts. So
Mhm.
this book is to help guide. And what I thought we would do is just practice a little bibliomancy, which is when you open at random to see what's the message for Troi and
Ooh.
your audience who's here. So let's just see what I open to. Bodies always speak to us in the language of love.
Mm.
Speak to us in the language of love. So that's the wisdom. And then the little explanatory text under is, our bodies will even get sick to help us learn to love and accept ourselves. Please don't think the solution is to figure out what you did wrong. look for ways you can bring more loving care to yourself and by
Mm,
extension to the earth. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. Bodies always speak to us in the language of love. And here's an herb I did not mention, so that deserves mentioning. This woman has a little wreath of red clover. Red clover is very famous as an herb to help promote fertility, among
mhm,
many others, but definitely that.
mhm,
That's the message that came today, is bodies always speak to us in the language of love. So that
mm,
feels very fitting. And reminds me one other thing that I did really want to share with your audience, which is that there are so many people ready to tell you what you should do,
mhm.
before, during, and after, especially after, what you should do. Don't don't fall for that. Like, it's always what you could do.
Mhm.
Like, and what you do for yourself, instead of doing because you should, I really want to strongly encourage you to do your self-care because you
Yeah.
care for yourself and about yourself, and that's really good practice for caring for and about your baby,
Mm,
right?
appreciate that word, Miss Robin Rose Bennett. Wow. This was beautiful. It was amazing. It was an enlightening experience. Your energy is great. It is grounding. I love that. Thank you so much for
Uh,
offering and sharing up those words. What did you say? The body always gives us, say it one more
bodies always bodies always speak to us in the
time, in
language of
love.
love.
In the language of love. I love that. As a full spectrum wellness doula, a birth coach, a traditional postpartum healer, I am
Yeah,
always pushing self care, highlighting wellness, understanding that we should be in a space of self exploration and of self love for ourselves, period.
yeah,
And it gets
yeah.
hard, it gets tricky, but it's important for us to stay true to that. So thank you so much for offering some hardcore scientific facts surrounding why self-care and and the different modalities or variations of it are important, including tinctures and just herbal drinks, baths, yoni steams, things like that, just plant medicine in general. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with us. Everybody, my name is Troi Lauren of Mama Tree Doula. You guys are tuning into Nurturing Your Pregnancy Journey Retreat, and we are excited to be just sharing the deep dive of health and wellness as we empower women with confidence and connection from pregnancy to parenthood. We will see you all soon. Happy healing, happy baking. Thank you so much, Robin.
You're so welcome. And everyone, walk outside. That's one
Mm.
of the fastest things to do to recenter yourself, right? Walk outside, touch the earth. Green blessings, green blessings. Thank you, Troy. Wonderful to be with you.
Beautiful soul, that's a wrap for today. Look at you taking time out of your busy schedule for self care. If you enjoyed today's episode, do me a favor, follow the podcast and write a review. Following and sharing is the best way to ensure that mamas just like you learn how to nurture their pregnancy journey. It also lets me know if you are enjoying this. So before you go, follow and share your thoughts, all right? I will catch you on the next episode. Happy baking and happy healing.